You are Joyce Murray, running for the Liberal Party in Vancouver Quadra.
I am.
And you have been a politician before. You've been with the provincial government, I understand. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
That's correct, Pedro. I was the minister responsible for the environment from 2001 to 2004, and then responsible for management services, which included information technology and other government business processes for a year until 2005.
And what happened in 2005?
There was a provincial election, and I was in a seat that I had won for the very first time in 50 years away from the NDP. In 2005, we had a sweep of seats that the NDP won back from the Liberals, and my seat was one of those that went NDP again.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
And if you keep going on the links on, say one of the questions there is foreign policy.
Okay.
And on foreign policy, there is one heading that says Afghanistan.
I see that.
Okay. Can you read some of the answers that people have added there? And if none of them is something that you would choose, you can add your own.
Okay.
So you have seen the questions on nowpolling.ca.
That's correct, yeah.
And which is there any of the answers that would suit you, or you want to bring your own?
Well, my answer is that we end our combat mission in February 2009, and that we provide full advice to NATO that will be doing that, so NATO can take the measures it needs to take for the overall NATO mission. So that's Mr. Dion's. That's been Mr. Dion's principle for well over a year.
So is this one of the answers here close to what you're saying, or you would add some new answer to what exists there already?
Well, it's the second one, withdraw forces. We need to withdraw our forces from the combat role in February 2009. I don't agree with the immediate withdrawal because that leaves our NATO partners in the lurch. They need to plan for Canada to be rotated out of that frontline combat role.
Okay, so you would support a gradual withdrawal, maybe?
No, a specific timing, yeah. No, the timing is 2009, February. And at that point, no more combat mission. At that point, Canada's troops will be doing training, reconstruction and development activities and providing security for those activities, but not the search out and destroy missions that we're doing now.
So the closest one you said is number 2 and nowpolling.ca, that the one that has about 18% support.
That's correct, yeah.
Why do you think your opinion differs from most people? 59% of people have chosen for choice number 1.
Well, Pedro, I'm not going to comment on who has taken this poll and what their understanding of the question is. I'm clear that the responsible approach is to set a date to retire Canadian forces from the combat mission, and then do that. And that date is 2009, February. Our troops have been doing a fantastic job, but they have accepted the burden of frontline combat for long enough.
Okay. There's another question here, which is about immigration. There are all kinds of opinions about immigration priority should be given to whom? Who should be a new immigrant in Canada? And here is a sample of a few people that have put their own opinion on it. I wonder if you have an opinion on it, or you agree with one of them.
Immigration is a very important program, and it's not either or. We need to make a priority to a number of these criteria. Humane reasons, and that's our refugee program in Canada. People who meet education and skill criteria, because especially in the future, we will more and more need some of those skills as our demographics change in Canada. Family reunification, that's very important for the families here. So we need an immigration policy, and we have one that has a range of people that come.
When we choose the well-educated people from other countries to be our immigrants, what is the condition for those countries that those people were educated at? Say, doctors from Guatemala. What's the condition of the Guatemalans in regards to those doctors that are living because we give them visas here?
Of course, it's difficult when a country loses skilled people, and Canada also loses skilled people. For example, in 2001, when I was first elected, we had quite a drain of skilled people, nurses, doctors, leaving British Columbia. So it's difficult, but I think the key is that we welcome immigration in Canada. It's a very important, it's a foundation of who we are as a country, and it's made Canada stronger, and our lower mainland area has people from many, many countries, and that's made us richer from a social as well as economic perspective.
Mm-hmm. So your answer would be maybe which one of these answers would be closest to your thinking?
My thinking is that it's having a single criteria doesn't make sense. We need to open the doors to people for a variety of reasons, and that's what we do in Canada.
What would be one of those top priorities in your head right now?
I've already mentioned a number. So, family reunification, for example, or skills that we need here in Canada, and people that have those skills and that education. Humanitarian reasons. So refugees, I think it's important that Canada play that role on the world stage of being a safe place for people that whose lives are in danger in their own country.
There are soldiers from the United States that are escaping the army, and they're coming here as conscientious objectors. Would they qualify, and if you were a government, as refugees?
I understand that people have left the United States to come to Canada for those reasons over the years, and if they satisfy their requirements, then yes, they should be allowed to be here.
What would be the requirement for a conscientious objector who's running away from the army in the United States?
Well, Pedro, you're getting into some very fine, specific details there. I'm not sure what our immigration law on that is. I think that essentially Canada is a place that welcomes immigration. We welcome people whose lives are not safe where they come from, and we welcome people who would like to come to join their families. We've got the best place on earth, our country of Canada, and immigration has made us stronger.
Okay, temporary workers also is another topic in our computer. Do you think we should allow more temporary workers? Right now, Tarzans are hiring a lot of people, and would that be fair for workers and businesses here?
If we don't have an adequate workforce and people want to come and work temporarily in Canada, and we have clear laws and those laws are satisfied, then I think that's appropriate.
All right. One question that you wanted to talk about was about Kyoto, and I don't know much about it, but I understand you were in Bali. You have an opinion, obviously, about that question, about the environment internationally. What would be your position?
Well, I have a strong position on that. Kyoto reflects our international legal agreement that Canada entered into under a Liberal government. It's an urgent issue that we address, and it's important that we take action on climate change. And you know, Pedro, that I have a strong background on that issue. I wrote my MBA thesis on global warming 17 years ago. And at that time, I proposed a strong target for Canada, that Canada take a leadership role on the world stage, that we take some immediate action to address the issue. And actually, I've posted my thesis on my website, joycemurray.ca, so that people can see the state of the research from 17 years ago. So yes, we need to take action, and the time is now.
One last question. You know, in the provincial government, we have recall legislation, recall and initiative. And there's now polling.ca is kind of facilitating the initiative. People can come up with questions and that can be translated later on into policy. What is your position and the right and the ability of voters to recall their MLAs or in your case MPs?
Well, Pedro, when you started talking about the provincial government, when we had just been talking about climate change, my mind went to the throne speech yesterday and the provincial government's commitment to reducing greenhouse gases. And so I do want to comment on that I think that I'm very encouraged by the stand that's being taken in the provincial government. As the environment minister, I worked for 3 years to put in place the foundational work and the groundwork for strong action on climate change. So I did sow seeds here in British Columbia, and I'm pleased to see British Columbia is now taking a leadership role. It's just unfortunate that our Conservative government has delayed action on this for 3 years. We had the elements of a strong plan under the Liberals. Mr. Dion put forward a plan in February 2005 that's been analyzed as being 7 times more effective than the Conservative plan today. So I think it's really regretful that we've lost so much time on this issue, and we just have to we have to correct that. And
all right. If I voted for you, and you didn't do what you're just telling me that you would be doing, would I have the right to recall you?
Well, Pedro, I am in politics because I want to advance the environmental agenda, and climate change is an area of strong passion and commitment. So that's not going to, the issue won't come up.
You mean you will be true to your word, and I won't have to recall you.
Well, this is why I left the private sector to enter public life, is to work on issues like strong action on climate change. You can count on me to do that.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.